Hello and welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. So last time we kind of built a space station to orbit Kerbin, and we kind of left it open so that another craft could be docked with it, another part of the space station. So in this episode, let's keep building this space station. We'll see how many things we can add on here. So let's go right to the assembly building. So I'm kind of thinking, let's make this space station automated at the launch to get up there, and once it gets close enough and we rendezvous with our actual space station, we can jettison the robotic control and actually use the habitation module that's already up there to then dock with this next part. So we're actually going to grab, I'm just going to grab this Octo 2, the thin one, little thin one here. I'm going to bring it up like that. And so I'm just kind of thinking we'll put one of these structures down here, and then to fit it with the size that we want, we're going to use this adapter here. So the next thing we're going to want is a way to basically get rid of this part once we are near enough to our space station. So I'm going to use one of these stack separators. Now these things are very similar to the decoupler, except when you decouple these, it basically saws the spaceship in half at this point. It doesn't leave any of the decouplers attached. So we'll have a bit of debris hanging out up there, but that's okay. So the next thing, we're going to grab the docking port, the Clampotron Senior. So remember, this is going to attach to the bottom of our already up there space station. So we're going to have this, we're going to leave this thing pointed in this direction, because we're going to want to undock everything above that point, or to dock to that point. Alright, next I figure, since we're going to have maybe a bunch of ships docking to this space station to maybe refuel, maybe transfer some power perhaps, who knows, so we want to make the maximum amount of fuel for these guys. So let's first grab a large RCS tank. Now these things hold 750 monopropellants. That's tons of RCS. So any ship that docks with us can definitely feel good about refueling. And also I might just put on one of these giant orange tanks. So this will kind of be like the fuel bay slash docking bay of the space station. And of course at the bottom here, just in case we want to continue to add on, we'll throw another docking port, and again we'll flip it around. Docking ports on the bottom should always have those bicycle spokes pointing down, because those are the things that need to connect with each other. The two bicycle spokes, we'll call them that last episode, I think. Alright, so we're also going to need a way for this craft to get over there. So we're going to add some engines. Hold on, I have to sneeze. Okay, that was a loud one, but I muted it so you guys didn't have to hear that. I'm still sick. My cold has actually gotten a little worse, so sorry for all the sniffling sounds you may hear. That's just the thing of it. Alright, so again, we're going to want to throw some engines on here. So let's go over here. And again, we'll grab these little radial mounted side ones here. Throw them on the sides. Just because we want to save the bottom for a docking port. Alright, let's add some RCS thrusters. Center of mass. Now the center of mass is going to be a little bit higher just because of that extra adapter on the top. So that's okay. We'll basically still place these about on opposite ends of the ship. Like a big lever. And hopefully when we go to try to dock, this thing will be able to maneuver effectively. I might just move this down just a touch. Okay. Get more thrust that way, I feel like. So that's that. What else do we need? Let's add on now our structural supports, or girders. So what I think I'll do is I'll have 2 girders do Clampotron regulars and 2 girders do Clampotron juniors in case we need to dock a smaller ship on here. And so I kind of used to just leave them like this, and I'd go over here and just... But if you do that, I kind of just... I don't know, it looks funny. It doesn't quite look right. So what I normally do is I will take one of these adapters here and flip it around that way, and you'll see in a minute while we're doing 2. We'll do 2 here, we'll copy it, and we'll do another 2 over here. That's about even. Okay, and so now we're gonna go grab 2 Clampotron regulars, and see, they kind of just, they fit right over that, so it looks way better than just leaving it. And 2 Clampotron Juniors. Now these ones are a little smaller, so they kind of almost get swallowed up by it, but still I think it looks better and it'll function better that way. Okay, so we have our docking array girders here. Just gonna make sure that they are quite supported, so I just might go right ahead and attach these up here like this. Okay, so that'll just make everything a little more secure when we are actually docking. Alright. Sometimes it's fun to come over here and take the panels. Just throw a few panels on here. They'll add to the effect of the whole space station. I just kind of like picture space station just having solar panels all over them. Even though it might not be entirely necessary, it still looks cool. Of course, you know, you don't have to do this. I just kind of like to do stuff like that. Like, it makes it look neat. We already have so much power from the other sections that it's not entirely necessary. Okay, let's add some lights. So in the same fashion, we're going to just take them and put them pointing down, just so that it kind of illuminates the whole side of the ship. And I might just take them and point them a little more down. This way it gets more of the ship and less of the inky void of outer space. I'll grab these other ones here and we'll put them down here so that if we want to dock something again to the bottom, we'll be able to see it. Also, what I might do is just come over here and throw some lights on here, just like this, so that when we dock ships to the side of it, sometimes you gotta aim them, we can illuminate those ships too. Alright, it's coming right along. And I'm trying to think. Maybe just for fun. Yeah, why not? We'll throw on some more panels, just because I think it'll look cool. Let's see, we'll put them on this side. Put 2 over here, and maybe we'll put 2 down here. Again, not really necessary, but it'll just make the ship look cooler. Okay, now here's the idea. Once we get this thing pretty much right next to our original space station, we are going to jettison this. And this is just going to be a big hunk of debris unless we do something about it. So let's do something about it. We'll just put 2 batteries up here and maybe 2 panels just to keep it alive. And then we'll just add these Sepratron engines. Now these things are a lot more powerful than you may think. You can actually deorbit a craft just with 2 of them. They thrust so hard that it doesn't seem like they would, but check it out. Like, the mass of this top part is probably so small that 2 of these things thrusting together is a lot of thrust. So we will fire those, but we'll put them in a separate stage just so that it doesn't fire immediately. That's what I'm thinking. So that once this decouples, we'll be able to deorbit this top part, and it won't be space junk floating around. Now this little ring here, the Sepratron ring, or not the Sepratron, you know what I mean, the decoupler ring is going to stay up there, but I don't think it'll be an issue. Let's do our action groups. We'll have Custom 2 will be this set of panels, because custom 1 was the panels on our original ship, so this will be custom 2, and then this will be custom 3. So there we have it. It's coming right along. I'm just trying to think if we can add anything else to this. We have tons of fuel, tons of RCS. We have our engines, we have our RCS, we have our lights, our docking ports. It's pretty well strutted up. We don't really need to go strut down. That's okay. Ah, here's something we should add onto this part. We'll just add a little SAS, just to stabilize the whole ship on launch. But since we already have an SAS module on the first space station, we can just have this decouple with the robotic part up here. Let's see, what else? You know, I suppose we could have used one of these things, but I kind of like the looks of the girder arms. It looks more science fiction-y in my opinion. Of course, you can do any kind of design you like. I'm just kind of showing you what's possible in Kerbal Space Program. There's lots of things possible. I'm just again trying to look to see if there's anything else. You know, it might make it cool just to look. We can add little like ladder segments. Maybe if the Kerbals want to like crawl over, maybe you can imagine that they might need to repair these solar panels maybe. So we can add little ladder segments. So if you kind of use your imagination, they'd be able to do an EVA, climb down the ladders, and kind of do whatever repairs they need to make on the solar panels. You can also access the girder arms here. Maybe we could put a couple on this side too. Again, totally useless function, but fun to imagine, fun to think about. Maybe they need to go down and fix the engine down here. Plus it gives the spacecraft a little more texture, it makes it look a little more interesting. Let's see. What else? What else? Don't need wheels on a space station. How about any science? Of course, if you didn't put any science on the original part, you could absolutely go ahead. Like maybe a communitron or something can go somewhere. Let's see. Actually, no, it's not necessary. That's okay. Okay. We don't really have any crew because this is a robotic companion here. So that's all good. Let's name this KSS Fuel and Docking. Hooray. We'll save it. Okay, now the hard part. That was the easy part. We need to launch this thing. Now this is very heavy. I would imagine it's... I don't even want to give a figure, but this orange tank here, we can actually see 36 mass. That is massive. Plus all the other stuff we added on, like the RCS tank, 3, plus all the girders and everything else. So it's probably very massive. We're going to probably need a lot of thrust to get this thing up there. So definitely going to throw one of these on. Gonna throw one of these on. Like that. And I might throw on 4 tanks on the outsides. I'll do a little asparagus, but 4 times asparagus instead of 2 like the other one was. So again, let's do it up. We'll put the fuel tanks, or the fuel lines rather. Don't forget about the struts. You guys probably heard me say this stuff so many times. You're probably sitting there like, I know, Hot Jupiter. I know about the damn struts. but I always say it anyway, just in case someone new is watching, or maybe you forget. And you know, let me know if you like watching me build these things. Some of the other Let's Players will just already pre-construct it and just do the whole launch, and you know, they won't let you guys see what exactly goes on behind the scenes, and I kind of think that's important to see what exactly we're doing here. But again, if this is boring and you guys don't want to sit here and watch it, then leave a comment, and maybe I'll listen to you. But yeah, it's also good to have feedback. You know, let me know what you think of the videos. If you like them, give them a like, give them a subscribe, share it, let people know about it. I'd really appreciate it. It would really help me out. I'm kind of just starting this series, and it's tough trying to compete with the other Let's Players out there, but that's okay. I'm not really doing it for the the views or the popularity. I just kind of like recording and putting videos out there. But still, it's nice to know that they're watched. So, anyways, let's continue here. We have those things, and let's also add on our separatrons. Just like that. Up a little bit. And we'll make sure that those are firing with that stage. And here they are. We'll just drag them up. And let's make sure that the engines are firing first. Now, we're going to want to throw on definitely some boosters. If you've watched my videos, I'll throw on boosters even if you don't need them. But in this case, we definitely will need them. Oops, sometimes it doesn't like it. That's better. And here we are with the struts again. Gonna bring the whole thing down a little bit, and on the outsides, don't forget about these. We'll also make sure that these boosters are firing with the engines, and we'll also make sure that these struts are releasing with the engines. Next comes the boosters, next comes the orange tanks, next comes that, and then it's just the space station. So let's add on one more set of these guys. Make sure it's lined up. There we are. Now don't forget, we're going to take this pipe here, bring this into this tank, in the true asparagus style. That wasn't exactly even, was it? We'll go bar to bar here. That works. And we're also just going to want to make sure that we stage that correctly. We'll add a stage and make sure that this one goes first. It's really easy to mess up staging in asparagus because there's so many little things that just have to happen exactly right. Also, before I forget, let's try to strut from in here over to here. Okay, it liked it, good. Again, we do that just because the gray tank will wobble around against the orange tank if we don't. Even though it looks like there's nothing going on, it's in there and it's connected it. Let's keep going. We'll strut from here to here. And from here to here, because sometimes these tanks will start wobbling, and it'll just torque the whole craft apart. We don't want that kind of torque. Since this thing's so large, I might just bring down these RCS rockets to the bottom. That'll just help us steer once we're in space. And of course, winglets. That'll even further help us steer. Okay, we are coming right along. Now the one thing I am worried about is, since this is so much weight up here, once these outer tanks decouple, there's going to be nothing bracing the bottom part with the top part again. So how can we do that? You know, maybe we'll do this. We'll do something like this. Can we do something like this? We'll attach it up to here like that. Yes, we can. Good. So this thing's like a Frankenstein of struts. But I assure you, they are entirely necessary. Whenever you try to launch orange tanks into space that are part of your payload, it just becomes that much harder to stabilize the whole thing. Okay. Now that should be enough power to get this whole thing up there. If not, we'll have to come back and maybe add a second orange in the middle, or maybe just a sixth tank in the center, or the outer ones rather. But we'll see. Let's launch. Kind of looks like a monster right now, but once all these boosters and tanks jettison off, it'll be an elegant spacecraft, hopefully, right? Okay, there it is, balancing precariously. Now let's do a little time warp, just so that... Now we're going to want to dock with our... where is it? KSS Mark 1, so we're going to set that as the target. And we should actually change the icon of that into that of a space station, but we'll do that in a second. So now in previous episodes when we did a rendezvous, I purposely waited till the craft was right about where Gemini 6 was, right here, right up straight above us. But in this case, we're going to wait until it's a little further back towards the west there. So here comes the KSS Mark 1. We're going to wait till it gets a little further, just a little further, say maybe like right there. This way, by the time we launch, we should be right on top of it, and we'll have to do minimum amounts of rendezvousing. So here we go. We're going to shift throttle up T to SAS, and here we go. Very stable. I like that. So I apologize, I'm realizing it's a night launch. It might be a little dark for you guys, but it just kind of worked out that way. So I'm just going to thrust back to 2/3 because we're already gaining tons of speed. Heck, I might even thrust back to around 1/3 just to make sure that thing is at 1 G of acceleration. Plus, our already outermost tanks are already practically empty, and we still have our solid fuel. So there's a trap here. If these empty out first, do not stage. They will become ballistic missiles. So they're out. We're just going to wait until the solid boosters now are out. So we'll do a double jettison. And it's still powering us up pretty nicely. Still have some nice acceleration up there. So here we go. We're going to jettison those, and then we're going to jettison those. I'm going to thrust back up a little bit there, and that will be good. You know what we can do? We can turn the lights on. That'll kind of give you guys a good view of the ship. We've started to torque around a little bit, probably from the Separatrons firing away. I'm going to try to turn this thing. Very cumbersome. Very heavy. So we're at about the 10 thou mark. We are going to now begin pitching. Now, I didn't put Kerbal Flight Engineer on this design because it's already on the other one. Now this is where things can go wrong, because the extra forces now from gravity are going to be pulling on these things a little extra strangely. We'll have to rely on our map. Now we're getting some nice speed, so I'm just going to continue to pitch the ship this way. We're at 2 Gs of acceleration, and that's fine. We don't need to accelerate any faster than that. So we're... oh, it looks like we are out of... Yep, so we'll jettison those. Oh, and that caused a great deal of disturbance in the force. So that's okay though, we are still going strong. There they go. They flew away. I hate when it makes that strange noise, but alright, so there we are. So we have slightly less acceleration. We're down to about a G of acceleration. But that's okay, that's still alright. You don't really like going any further, like more than that, and it's just kind of like a waste. We don't really need to go full barrel here. Although I might just boost it up a little bit. There we go. Now we're starting to really push. Push, push, push. There's another reference to a 90s movie. I make a lot of 90s movies references because, well, I am a child of the 90s, so and I don't know how many of you guys get those references, but I always make them anyway. Alright. Getting up there now. I'd guess that we have maybe another 30 seconds of thrust in this particular section. So we just want to do most of the work, as much work as we can in this stage before we burn out all the fuel here. Now we're really consuming the gray tank. Just gonna point towards the horizon now just to get speed. We'll just go until this burns out. There, it's burned out. Just made it over the atmosphere, and you know, that's okay. So we will stage, and we will light these fires now. So if I had to guess, our thrust weight ratio is probably 0.3, 0.5 maybe. Actually, you know, we're accelerating at about half a G. That's not bad. Not bad at all. And we have tons of fuel left in this stage to do the rest of this burn. So it's okay. And once we do our injection burn, we won't have to do that much more. So there's our intersect. I might go a little further past the orbit. 101. So there it is. The spacecraft will be a little behind us, so we could have probably waited a little more even. Our separation is at 215 or 250 kilometers. Let's just see what happens if we finish the burn here, finish the orbit. Now they're getting closer. Okay, so when we finish our orbit there, ooh, apoapsis is 141. We don't want to go out that far, that's too far. What else can we do? We've got options. It's all about just finagling this stuff. Let's see. Yeah, see, if we go out really far to 140, we'll get that intersect real close right there. But what that's gonna mean that we're gonna have to go way out and then correct way back in again to 100. So I don't know if I want to exactly do that. Let's just see. Just kind of dinking around here. So this is what it was at. Just gonna remove this again. So this is where we're at. Coming up fast. We'll have to make a decision very quickly. If we do it like that, it'll take a while. We could naturally meet up with them, but you know what? Maybe we'll do it. We'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that. So we'll meet up right, pretty much be right on top of each other. We'll do that kind of burn, and it's a little longer of a burn, but we'll do it. You can probably see the ship coming up behind us at some point. Not quite yet. It's going to take just under a minute, so we'll do it just under 30 seconds. Right about here is good. Finishing that orbit. Oh, you know what? Before I forget, lest we forget, panels. Good thing I looked. I'll move all these panels out. It appears that these engines here don't generate any actual power for us. That's why we're losing. We're not gaining anything, rather. Alright, there we go. We finished our maneuver. And good. It's still pretty much right on top of each other. 50 or 5. I'm just going to turn on the RCS and just mess around pressing the H and N keys and see if I can get it any closer. So about 4.3 is the closest we can get that to. Okay. So that's going to be the next pass. What I might do now is just go over to KSS Mark 1, switch to it, and just turn it into the space station symbol, so I can better identify it. Sometimes you have to zoom way in. There it is. So we'll turn these lights on also so we can see it. So I'm just going to right click, go to rename vessel, and we're just going to change it to the station icon. So we'll call it KSS Hab module. And it's got the station icon. It should be a while before this one's out of power, so that's okay. Alright, let's go back to our thing here. Zooming in, zooming in. There we are. So we're really running out of power. I'm just going to turn these lights off, and this way we won't totally die. But it's alright, we've got our panels out, so it'll be okay for us. I'm just going to run a quick save in case something horrible happens. Again, we're going to set this as the target, and let's just time warp. We'll be coming around to the light side soon. There we go, we're all juiced up again. So you can see it's naturally catching up to us because we are on an outer orbit. And we definitely could have done that better. If I had just waited a little longer, it would have been better. We would have immediately kind of caught up to each other. So let's just take a little look. We'll actually see. There she is. There's our space station coming up on us now. It's racing towards us. So we're gonna meet right over here. Just gonna slowly get closer and closer, naturally, just due to Kepler's laws of planetary motion. The closer an object is to its parent orbiting body, the faster the orbit. The farther away, the slower. I think that's Kepler's third law. So we'll be kind of close, but we'll still have a good deal of speed to bleed off. I have 44 meters per second to burn off. So what I'm going to do is point this ship at the opposite direction, our anti-target reticle, or anti-movement target reticle. I forget what that's actually called. We'll just call it the retro target. And we'll start burning now. We are going to want to also push this thing towards the anti-target. So we're pushing in the opposite direction that we're traveling. We're also trying to push it that a ways. And what that's going to do is just get us nice and lined up with it. It'll actually get it so that we're automatically heading towards it to some degree. And it's just about there. And that's just about right. I can just push it a little more. That's good. That's good enough. Okay. So actually works out. We're actually coming up on the bottom of it. So, and that's exactly what we want. We want to be coming up to the bottom of it because that's where our port is. That's where we're going to dock with it eventually. So let's go over here and let's just do a little burn at the target. Doesn't have to be too crazy of a burn. We're already pretty much very close to it. Let's just check. We want to get that as close to 0 as we can. So we're just doing a little burst. We'll get it within 100 meters. That's good. That's good right there. And flip the ship around. Point anti-target. Apologies for being in the dark side. Again, nothing I could really do about it. Just happened to be that's where we were. I could have just sat there and waited until the proper time was in the daytime, but I just didn't feel like it. Excuse me. Okay, we're running out of charge, so I'm just going to turn our lights off. It would be very sad if this thing ran out of power as we're careening towards it. So as we get in closer, I'm gonna push this thing starting right now. Just gonna start pushing it towards the anti-target. The anti-target. The evil target. There we are. We're heading straight at it at around 10 meters per second now. So there it is, quickly. Right down to the wire, always. Alright, we've basically nullified our our relative velocity. Maybe just one more little burst. There we are. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over to this vessel here and just make sure... Wow, that's close. That freaked me out for a second. I'm going to point this thing north-south. And just kind of like that. So our panels are parallel with our orbit. And I'm going to point this thing the same direction, actually, north-south. Just got to keep an eye on my power here. And let's not forget to set target. So just to be neat, I'll also make sure that these girders are also parallel with our orbit here. I'm also going to move this whole ship downwards. Just going to get it into position. Just a little further down. Right about there ought to do it. There we are. Just do a little bit of a quick save again, and what I'm going to do now is just make sure we are indeed aligned with it, just like that. And I'm going to jettison this thing. And what that's going to do is totally push us upwards like this, which is good. We want to be away from all that stuff. And I'm going to point this thing. Well, that's interesting. I got to control from here, I think. Oh, we're still on target, that's why. Okay, so that was a little trap. Make sure you're on orbit, otherwise we would have burned right back towards our things again. So we're making sure we're pointing this thing at the opposite direction that we're traveling, and we are just going to deorbit this thing on purpose. Here we go. There. So we'll see that that thing now is going to slowly decay until it hits the ground somewhere over here. And that's what we want. Cycle back to our ships. Now this one's dead in the water, so we're going to go and use this thing here to dock with that. So we'll set this as the target, and hopefully this thing doesn't rotate around. I'm just now realizing that oops. This thing has no SAS to lock it in, so it's going to be a little bit dicey. But we're going to just move over here. It's definitely going to be dicey. Here we go. Hopefully we won't bash into that ring. If we do, that's okay. So we're just going to rotate the ship so that we are facing it the proper direction. Again, just making sure we are lined up. Oops, wrong way. This way is the right way. Looks like we're also falling away from it. So I'm just going to do a little burst towards it. I can actually see it. Okay. Coming towards it rather quickly, so I might just burst off a little bit. Rotate around. Up a little bit, over a little bit. Getting very close now, so I'm just going to make sure that we are really lined up. Burst over that way. And it looks like it's already got us. It's getting us. There we go. Not bad for lining up with something that had no SAS, no control, and it was slowly drifting and rotating. We found it, and with some expert piloting by Bob Kerman, we've managed to get this space station connected up. Was it perfect? No. Was it sloppy? A little bit. But it's Kerbal Space Program, and that's okay. So we're just going to make sure the ship is oriented in this kind of north-south direction. It's not entirely necessary, but it'll keep it going. Now there's our ship there. It's going to slowly decay. It's already losing altitude. But there we have it. We have our space station now docking capable, so we can even bring our SSTO, which is somewhere. There it is, the Dompy SSTO. It's dead out of fuel. We could even have a rendezvous. We can bring that, you know, it's on the opposite side, but we can eventually connect that with this. We can dock it up, refuel it, and send it off. Maybe to Lathe. Maybe we'll go to Lathe with that thing. But there it is. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. It's went a little over time. We're already at about the 45-minute mark. Sorry about that. But I hope you enjoyed watching it. Join us again next time. We might add some more stuff, or we might do the SSTO docking with it. Who knows? But until then, have a good one. I thought I'd add a little bonus footage here. Here is the robotic part, command part that we jettisoned. coming in for a landing, and there up there is actually our space station, 74 kilometers above us. But here is, oh, there goes the panels. So that's what happens if you don't pull those in. But I kind of wanted to see them fly away. Moon in the background. Here it is, coming in for a hot landing as the space station continues to thrive above us. You can see as we're braking now, it's gonna gain speed ahead of us. Braking at about 3.5 to 4 Gs. We'll just speed things up. There it comes. There will unfortunately be no parachutes on this. Now if I wanted to make some kind of reusable space program, I would throw some parachutes on here, but we're not that advanced yet in Kerbal Space Program. We are just a new fledgling spacefaring nation of Kerbals. And here it comes. Down for a hard landing. Try to save it, try to save it. Oh! Nope. And nothing survives. Oh, that's not true. Oh, look at that. So we have a little girder segment with some half-depleted batteries left over. Okay. So I just wanted to show you that, guys. So we'll see you in the next episode. Join us then.